This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Hello, this is Simon Brew. I'm the editor of Film Stories magazine, and a very warm welcome to a very special episode of the Film Stories podcast.
Come with me.
And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
And movies that had stories.
That the story just sucks them in.
This is just the beginning.
Film Stories. We would be honored if you would join us.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to Film Stories with Simon Brew. I am Simon Brew. That's absolutely everything you need to know about me. The aim of the podcast, though, it's given away by the title. I'm here to talk of the stories of films, and I tend to talk about development stories, production stories, marketing stories, release stories, production design stories, all the ingredients, really, that go towards making the films that we know and sometimes love. Just that, the films that we know and sometimes love. The films I tend to cover on this podcast lean more towards the mainstream than anything else. They're films I'm interested in or invested in to some degree. I try not to do snark. I try not to punch down. This podcast is a celebration of cinema and a real appreciation that somehow, films manage to get made. Film Stories is also a very proud part of the Film Stories podcast network, a network of over 50 shows covering films, TV, gaming. If you just do a search for Film Stories podcast network, hopefully you will find some more things to entertain your eardrums. But back to this podcast, and what you've happened upon here is one of my occasional special episodes of Film Stories where I bring in a filmmaker to talk about their latest release and or their body of work, a bit of both here, because I'm delighted to be joined by a legend of production design, Nathan Crowley, famed for his work with Christopher Nolan amongst many others, and an Oscar winner for Wicked, and returning for the newly released Wicked for Good. Now, this is quite the conversation, and I end up talking about a 1994 monkey movie for a little part of it. But I'm going to set it up with a clip from the trailer from Wicked for Good, which is playing in cinemas now, and you'll be able to hear my conversation with Nathan Crowley, the other side of this.
Couldn't be happier.
It's more important than ever that you lift everyone's spirits. As only you can.
Does that do what I think it does?
No.
No way! I'm obsessulated.
The wand really sells it.
Right. Well, hello, Nathan Crowley, first of all.
Hey, Simon.
How do we find you? Your wallpaper is lovely, as expected.
I know. I'm upstairs on our top floor. We live in Brooklyn, even though I have this accent. Yeah, we're all good.
An Islington boy who ended up on the top floor in Brooklyn. I like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, exactly. Islington, Arsenal, obviously. So
Birmingham City here. No, we're not
are you
going
in
to do
Birmingham?
You are talking. This is live, beam direct from the glamour of the West Midlands. This is where we're chatting. Just while I was waiting for you to come on, I collect old film magazines. You might appreciate this. I found a spectacularly pissy letter about Death Wish 3.
Really?
And it's about how a reviewer didn't spot what was shot properly and what was shot on a set. And they've just wrote, forgive me if I correct you on your review about Death Wish 3. I didn't expect to be talking to you about this. A great deal of the film was shot in East New York, and those bits that were not shot in an immaculately built film set, in which the height of the buildings and every detail was perfect, including the cracks in the pavement, which was specifically photographed and recreated. Not one American newspaper or reviewer could tell the difference, and with respect, nor can you. Nathan Crowley, have you ever been tempted to write that letter about one of your films?
Because here's the deal with production design. If the audience doesn't notice you've done your job.
Yeah.
And
fair.
I don't want the audience to know how we did it. It's like, You just have to follow the story. So either the only time you start looking at these things is whether you don't like the film, So
Fair enough. So I mean, you've never been tempted to write a letter into a magazine or a website when one of us has spectacularly misread what you've done.
no, I mean, there's been so many occasions I would I'd spend my
Let's
life
see if
writing letters, Simon.
let's see if we can add a few more. 100 award nominations I've been reading about you. 100
Yeah,
award
yeah.
nominations.
I'm
That's a
finally
lot of
aware.
dry cleaning. Yeah.
Who said
Uh,
I dry clean anything? Who says I
what
don't hang? We don't wear suits on set, do we? We have to build things in the mud, and
who says I dry
the
clean?
suits that come out once a year. We don't- like that's that's the big lie of the film industry. We're outside. We're we're up mountains. We're in glaciers. Well, unless you work on sound stages with green screen, then
Yeah.
obviously I'm going to get letters by saying that. And
Yes.
so-
From Michael Winner's personal assistant, by the looks of it. That's who wrote this letter.
Really?
Apparently so. It's just like that's what you need, a personal
You
assistant to.
neglected to say that, Simon.
Well, now I've given it some added weight, you see.
Or as
So,
I would say, are you watching closely?
okay. Well, I mean, the Oscar. Can I talk to you about the Oscar just for a minute? Because I rewatched you receiving an Oscar.
Yeah.
And apart from the fact you didn't walk up with a speech, you look spectacularly happy.
Yeah,
It's
because
just like, yeah. So please just tell me that moment after
I've been
you've
sitting
sat there
there
and
for
had to
20
pretend.
years. I've been sitting there for 20 years and I never heard my name read out. And so to get up there, uh, it was like the first time I went to the Oscars. It was like someone pulled the curtain back and it said, "Wow, this
Yeah,
is this is a truly an amazing thing." And so when we got up, it was like it was just so I just everything. It was like you get your name called up, you go.
yeah,
And it was just brilliant. And someone opened the other curtain. Maybe it was the exit door.
yeah.
You have to purgatory. Maybe the Oscars is purgatory. You've got to sit there. Um, but yeah, so it was just such a it was just such a brilliant it's just such a brilliant evening. And I have lots of friends because I did this. They put it on loop, so it looks like I'm sort
And
of
you really did
Cha-
that. You really
cha-
went for it. I love that.
it was Chariots of Fire in the front row. You never get to go near the front row of Oscars. And what a brilliant the cast, because we were such a big family
Yeah,
and so happy together making that film, and all the HODs, everyone, we're all such friends. So that cast, everyone's truly engaged in because it took all of us.
that's lovely.
And then of course you got Symphony Ariana, who are just unbelievable. Like when
Yeah.
they sung at the Oscars, it was like Jesus. It's
Oh,
like,
you said you don't usually get near the front row. It's quite interesting. I've been working in and around interviewing people for like 15, 20 years. We only started getting offered you for interview around Dunkirk time. It was like that was sort of like the turning point where all of a sudden you were deemed to exist.
oh
I
yeah, well,
think just
you have to do a serious film, and if you're doing a serious British film,
yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
mean,
go on. Sorry.
no, I'm saying yeah, I mean Dunkirk. I mean, we shouldn't talk about Dunkirk, but most of the boats were not British in that film. So,
I've heard stories of this. I've heard
I can
stories
tell
of
you
this.
because I had to find the boats with the Marine Department. So, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I would have thought that my first nomination was The Prestige, a film I
It's
love because
beautiful. Yeah.
it's also it's two stories. It's like you can watch it again and all the
Yeah.
clues are laid out in front
Yeah.
of you. I mean, it's truly, I think it's one of Nolan's best films.
Yeah.
And so that was a joy. I don't know, it's been a long old road, and maybe no one knows me because I did my job well.
I mean, you've implied. I mean, you said that a couple of times, really effectively. I'm just kind of curious if I'd have found you, why? Because I never hear anyone ask you about something like Monkey Trouble in
Yeah, you
1994.
wonder why.
Yeah, but well, I mean, that was the era of the three monkey films that were competing head to head. But I would imagine you're getting as much as a schooling on that as you are,
Well, the
just
first
amongst your
person,
stepping. Yeah, you're the stepping stones of your career. That's going to have been a stone in there somewhere. There must have been a lesson you pick up from that, apart from don't work with monkeys.
Yeah, well, don't work on Monkey Trouble. Um, no, I mean I wasn't the designer. I was an art director. So it was when you climbing up the art department ladder, you have to if you have a designer's ambition and you have a creative,
Yeah,
uh, you can think in 3D creatively. You're working for other people's visions. I mean, you do with directors, but you're working directly for a production designer, and you have to realize their creative vision. So your input is a lot less. It's much more technical. Uh,
yeah,
and so those kind of films on my way up being an art director made me realize I needed to become a designer because not that they did it wrong, I would do it differently, so,
yeah.
and I think that journey, a lot of people don't want to be designers. It's a bit of a headache, so.
I'm fascinated because you've talked in interviews quite a bit, and you've told the story of the guy from Islington. The British film industry is down on its knees. You jump on a plane to Los Angeles to go and drive cars, effectively.
Yeah,
But I mean, I'm just curious of that effectively that gamble at
yeah.
that point in your life, and like 2, 3 weeks into that gamble, did it look like you'd spectacularly misfired, or was it confidence of youth? Were you walking into even a bed to sleep on when you jumped on that
Yeah, I
plane?
mean, the sort of ins and outs. The reality is myself and my wife bought an apartment in Clapham at the
Yeah.
height of Thatcherism, and
Right.
that Monday happened, and mortgages went up to 17%. The
Yeah.
paper just fell from behind you. Maggie Thatcher's behind you.
Is
Uh,
she? Oh dear me.
and we couldn't afford the mortgage anymore because it went up 10% overnight, and so my wife had family in LA, so it was like, uh, and we there were no work, there's no work, and especially if you came out of art school, there was nothing, there was no work, you couldn't afford where you lived. I don't know how old you are. How old are you, Simon?
Oh, I'm 26.
Oh yeah, well you
I
missed it.
I I know. I'm now 50, even though I don't look a day over 55.
No, so I think those they seem like really bad times, but like a lot of my friends, we got sort of scattered. A lot went to Australia because it was a simpler route because of
Yeah.
work permits, and it took a lot more to get work permits in America. And so we were sort of scattered to the wind, and you ended up doing something a little more interesting. And that's what happened to me. I went to LA. Um, through my wife, I got a work permit because she had a green card because her
Yeah.
family were there, and and things worked out. But it was a couple of years, or certainly a year and a half before I got a job in the studio. And I just did odd jobs like we all did. I was 22. I painted houses. You know what I mean? You do
Yeah.
things. You need money, so you do jobs. That's how it goes. And and then I bumped into the guy I was at art college with, and he said he remembered my work from art school because I guess I was pretty sculptural, and I tried to do some weird stuff.
Yeah.
And and then he got me an interview, and it was just a random piece of luck meeting him at that moment in your life, like life is, and then you have
Yeah.
to prove yourself. Uh, but you go through these sort of random things in your life that lead you to these places that seem like at that point seem a bit hopeless. You're giving your keys
Yeah.
back to the mortgage company. Like, how desperate is that? And then, but it led me to something to find what I ultimately wanted to do. And I think, that's a journey, and it takes a bit of luck, a bit of optimism, a bit of
Yeah.
courage, and a bit of youth. So,
But so you handed the keys back. So you basically cut off your route back. You
yeah,
didn't
well, I
have
had to.
a
We couldn't
yeah.
afford it. So, mailed them back like a lot of people did. Mailed them to the
No,
mortgage.
no, I remember the era of it. I
Keep
remember
that
the
quiet just in case they come after me.
Yeah. And the film you landed on was Hook, and you've given some great interviews on that, just like dropping the scales from our eyes as to how polished that was, with a
Yeah,
massive big leaky, but was it the tanks were all leaking, and it was
yeah,
just like, yeah, it was just a Tuesday. The whole thing
yeah.
sounded like it just happened to be like very glamorous Tuesday. When did the I mean, when did the scales kind of come away from your eyes a little bit? When you go onto a big studio, you see the set and you see people scurrying around just a job of work. Could you like click into the movie industry and then get the reality of it very, very quickly at that point?
No, you're. I was 23
Yeah,
and I was 24, and I was like, I walked by it. The thing I vividly remember is knowing I love this because someone sculpted
yeah,
HMS, the size of HMS Victory in a soundstage, and sure, the water tanks leaked. I didn't know till later that all water tank leaks.
yeah,
So, this is like you said, it's a Tuesday,
yeah,
and and so really I went through that very naively. I thought I'm just going to get my head down. I'm going to come useful. I'm going to be as good as I can as a draftsman. Uh,
yeah.
and so I get hired. And the sort of the continuation of that story is Norman Garwood, who's the production designer, also did,
Yes.
came into me at the end and said, "You don't know anyone in Hollywood, do you?" And I said, "No." He says, "Come next door with me. There's this guy called Dante Ferretti doing Bram Stoker's Dracula." And I went through, and then he hired me. And then really I got put on, Francis Ford Coppola put me
Yeah.
on second unit. And that's really my film school. I did it for 11 months.
Yeah, I remember you saying
Yeah. And
working with Roman Coppola on
yeah,
that.
I was just like, that was film school for me. And you know, because the thing about Francis, he's looking at old films like Cocteau's Orpheus, and he's working out that the camera can be, the audience needs to see a film this way, but he can actually stage it from above. You know, when you scenically paint something and you can slide down it, it looks like you're flying. You know, so what I learned on that is what camera perspective and uh, the trickery
Yeah,
of film, that and really it was the silent filmmakers, Charlie Chaplin. These guys invented it. They invented how to run a train, film backwards and the train coming forward, so you're not actually in danger. Yeah, they came up with that stuff. So
I remember watching the credits of a Superman film and I'm wondering what's that Derek Meddings bloke do?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And looked it up, and it's just like that was a mind-blowing bit of that. It's just like I
Yeah,
remember watching the original Superman and it didn't occur to me it was a miniature at all. And
yeah.
I mean, you talk about your film school on Dracula there. You're still working. You said it a lot. I appreciate that, but you're still working right the way through to Wicked and Wicked for Good, using the
Yeah.
stuff that you picked up on Dracula
Yeah.
and Monkey Trouble, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. I love the way it
Obviously,
tagged on too. Yeah. Yeah. What Ridley Scott produced that film, by the
I
way.
know. I've just been reading that. I've been reading that. There,
I'll tell you a story. I was like a kid. I was really a kid, and I was making a white cardboard model of the set. And I was looking at all the sizes, wondering if the rooms were right. This was the set we're going to build. And he literally walks by me, Ridley Scott, and he looks over and goes, "That's too small," and walks off. It was like, and he wasn't wrong. So
that was your interaction with Ridley Scott.
yeah, the only interaction in my entire life was,
What really?
yeah. Well,
He criticised your work on the set
never
of
met me,
Monkey
and he did
Trouble.
it on the move. I didn't even have time to reply.
100 award nominations, like
Your model,
huge hits,
yeah.
and 1 minute with Ridley Scott on the set of Monkey
No,
Trouble, and he didn't
no,
even stop. I love
9 seconds,
it. 9 seconds with. I mean, he got over some useful information though.
Yeah, he was right. That set was too small. Um,
I mean, I read too that when you were working on Dracula, you were sort of in awe and a bit scared of Francis Ford Coppola, and it was
yeah,
only when you chatted to him for Megalopolis, was it? You had a
yeah.
conversation around that.
I mean, during Bram Stoker, I mean, he was at his, he was this giant of filmmaking.
Yeah,
He still is, and so that's intimidating. And so, plus he knew everything about filmmaking. And so, really, as a designer, it took me many years because I need to know everything about design. So now I
yeah,
can have a chat with him And it's like, well, I wouldn't do it that way. I'd do it this way, you know. So, and you just have to know your trade, I guess. And yeah, we had dinner actually with him at the Chelsea Arts Club not long ago. So
Oh, I was at the next table.
yeah,
I recorded it all.
no, you weren't because we
I
were
get,
alone.
I get there very often. You'll be surprised to hear. I
You
mean,
busy?
in terms of turning points as well, I just want, can you take me into a TV series which I vaguely remember, The Ambassador, just because that's the first time you're credited as a production designer, and you said you wanted to get out of art directing into, you've said it a few times,
Yeah,
into being the person in charge of that.
yeah.
But no one seems to ask you about the first job where you were the person in charge of that.
I love, man, you dug deep. And okay, so what happened? All right. I worked for a designer for many years called Thomas Sanders, who
Yeah,
great man, and he would take me on film to film. Uh,
yeah,
and he took me to England on Braveheart. Uh,
yep. I've
and
heard of that.
and then what happened? After we did Braveheart, I did the sets in Scotland, then we moved to Dublin, and it's uh, I ended up doing a lot of work in Dublin, and then Morgan O'Sullivan, who rang Ardmore at the end of that film, he was the sort of he had Wall 2000, or no, it's not Wall 2000. He had a company, I forget the name of it, uh, and he said, I said I really want to become a designer, and he said, well, if you come here, um, there's we don't have many designers here. I think they had Mark Garrity at the time, and they
Yeah,
have lots of quite well-known directors doing projects that had a big tax deal in those days. They have small projects like
yeah.
that these directors could get made there, little projects. Yeah, and he said, well, you can probably build a design career here, oddly, rather than Hollywood. And so I thought, great. I think again, it was my second sort of adventurous, lucky move. And because I moved from Hollywood to Dublin, so
Yeah.
to become a designer. And I was in Dublin, I was doing commercials, Guinness commercials. I was trying to get back into the business. So I had to restart a little bit, which was tough. And then Tom Sanders rang me and he said, I'm gonna do Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan, and we need to find the beach. And I'm coming to
Interesting.
Dublin, I'm coming to Ireland. Can you come and be the art director and find the beach? So we went on a helicopter around the whole of Ireland and finally found the Private Ryan beach in the south. Unfortunately, we
Yeah.
started going north and we went the wrong way. And it was a big day. And then we landed and I got a call to come and interview for The Ambassador. It's a
Yeah.
TV series, but as a designer. And so I did that interview, and they hired me. Um, and then so I had to say to Tom, I'm turning down Private Ryan because I want to do The Ambassador.
So again, just to clarify, you turned down the art director job on Save It Private Ryan for a TV series and quite a liked TV series with Pauline Collins, was it? I
Yeah,
think it was. Was it a
exactly. Yeah.
BBC show, The Ambassador?
Yeah, BBC Northern Ireland.
So I mean, that's a fair gamble. I was just like, I'm talking to Edward Berger in an episode a few weeks ago, and he turned down working for Ang Lee's company and
Yeah.
I think he went back to Germany just to make straight to TV stuff, just so he could get his stride. I mean, clearly from where you were, it's the right decision. But was there a moment in the midst of
Yeah,
that?
I mean, it's all these things are terrifying. It's like, did I make the right decision? And this is part of life. But I think your instincts,
Yeah,
here's the thing, I think, with if you're sort of the production design, or I think if you're a creative person, if you boredom is your enemy. So if you get used
yeah, I
to
get that. I
something
get that.
and it seems you get into a position, that you've come to the end of that and you have to change. So I knew
Yeah,
I'd come to the end of art direction, even though Tom was a great friend. It was great fun making those films. We did like 4 films together. Assassin. No, not Assassin. No, we did do the
Yeah, you did that. The Richard Donner.
Yeah, yeah, and we did Maverick and we did Braveheart and then we did Mission Impossible 2. And we had this great experience together, but I knew I had to move to do my own work. I needed to become a production designer and help influence the look of the film rather
Yeah,
than art direction is about working out how to do it. And there's a big creativeness in that because you can say, hey, we need to build miniatures or painted backings.
yeah,
There's a technique that affects the look, but you're not coming up with the look. You're just telling them how to make it better. Um, and so really that was a strict, difficult move because the pay was about a third,
yeah.
so, and so I had to go down in pay. We had two kids. It was, like these things
That's a
are,
proper gamble. Yeah,
yeah, it's a proper gamble. And but it's easy to look from here. It's make it into an adventure, but there was some tough times. In fact, all the way across my career has been odd, strange moves, um, driven by knowing that I needed to push and try something else, and working against your situation, financial, personal situations, and you have to take those chances, and they're very tough at the time. But at the same time, I wouldn't have missed a single day of that journey. So
yeah.
I can actually say that. So
You wouldn't. Well, it sounds like you wouldn't be an Oscar winner for Wicked if you hadn't have done The Ambassador.
yeah, and Sweetie Barrett, look at Sweetie Barrett,
Yeah, yeah. I heard
because
you talking to Roger Deakins about that. That's yeah.
yeah, I mean, look who's in it. Like, Andy Serkis. We're all
Yes.
nobodies, and Cillian Murphy. I forget Andrew who anyway. There was lots of actors, lots of Ed Guiney. He did Poor Things,
Yeah.
produced Poor Things. Begunya now. So everyone was a nobody. So
Was there a point you felt like, not to the point of feeling like a somebody, but was there a point in your career where you felt you didn't have to chase the work as much and more of it was coming your way? Was there a kind of cross somewhere, maybe post Insomnia, something like that?
yeah, no, I think once I met Christopher Nolan and we did Insomnia together.
Yeah,
uh, I realized, I realized Chris is gonna fly. This guy is like,
yeah,
he's a director. Um, at that time, he hadn't really built sets, and I come from a big build set background, so I helped him in Insomnia. So we're just going to
yeah,
build it, Chris. We're going to go. We need a lake house next to a glacier. We're going to
yeah,
go find a glacier and build a lake house. And he was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "We're just going to. Why wouldn't you?" And so we had this. So he'd make films every 2 or 3 years. So it was like built in that I would just work with him, and it became very safe because we got very close, and I'd work alone with him,
yeah,
uh, and then I call them the in-between Chris films, which were the sort of chat because I needed to make money and earn union hours and all
yeah,
these things that we all need, and there were the in-between Chris films, um, which were difficult, like the Lake House. I'm working with new people using very different techniques and expectations. I'm not doing the Chris Nolan style, which is we do everything practically. No one
yeah.
wants to do anything practically until I met John Chu.
Well, I mean, it's interesting the through line. My only Chris Nolan question for you, because you get asked tons of those, but you talk about going into his garage and designing in his. Is his garage a shithole like everyone else's?
Yeah, well, it was. It isn't
Yeah.
now.
Okay, that's a
It was
relief.
like, and yeah, I
That,
used to get kicked out on a Tuesday because the cleaner had to do the washing. The machines were in there, and when you got on the dryer, it was like it was
so
like
you
in the
so
sauna.
what was that when you were designing like Insomnia and Batman Begins and stuff? You were
Batman
chucked out because
Begins.
the what?
Yeah,
So when you were just to be clear, you were designing Batman Begins, but on Tuesdays you had to get out the garage because the washing machines were going.
yeah.
Love it. Love it. So tell me about John M. Chu then. Tell me about, because in terms of practical filmmakers, it does sound like there's a kind of kinship between him and Chris Nolan in the way what's John M. Chu's garage like? What's that process?
John doesn't have a garage.
That's a shame.
He has a lovely house and with a great German Shepherd called Nesta, the dog.
Nesta.
Yeah,
See, this is the stuff I wanted from an interview. I wanted
yeah.
to know the name of his
Nesta
dog
is
and Chris
just
Nolan's washing machine.
yeah. Nesta is this fantastic. His parents were a police dog. He was a failed police dog because he was too nice. And when you go to John's house, Nesta just leans against you. He's a big dog. He just leans against you. Although, because I sat there at the beginning of Wicked for 3 days, but John's busy. He was doing
Yeah.
all kinds of things. So I'd be there alone with Nesta, and Nesta would just lean against your leg all day, and it was like we became great friends. I haven't seen.
Okay, great. Are you basically saying John Shoe's dog tried to hump your leg while you were trying to put
No,
Wicked together?
you were trying to say that.
I was exactly trying to. I know how
You had to
clickbait works. I
Birmingham
mean, you're
attitude.
giving me gold here. But I mean,
I'll
I'm
bring
kind of.
Nesta in, and you'll be
I'm not
peeping
going to
out
argue
that
with.
door
I'm not.
behind Kermit the Frog.
No, no, Nesta's too nice. You've already told me the failed police dog. I'm not scared of Nesta. But I mean, I'm curious because this shot, you started filming this. It's nearly the 3-year anniversary
Yeah.
of you started. When was your last actual physical day working on it that didn't involve publicity or awards or things like that?
The first official end day was just before the strike.
Yeah,
We were laid off, and we had like 9 days left to go.
yeah,
Um, so I was laid off there, and that was my official last day because the sets were all built.
yeah.
And they came back that following January, and they had to move them because it snowed. But anyway, the art director, Ben Collins, dealt with that. And then this year, they were doing some additional photography, so with a new set. So John called me and said, "Can you? I needed this new set. Can you come up with something and get it built at Sky Studios?" So it's like, yeah. So then that was my official last day was sometime in May, I think.
So,
So
I mean, give us a flavor. If you give us a flavor, just a little bit, really, that this has been with you for an awfully long time, longer than
yeah,
most of the jobs that you've worked on.
yeah.
I mean, just in terms of, without giving things away, at the point where you realize it's two films, are you kind of attacking them as one? Or
Yes.
is the specific, I presume that's the only way you can do it, but specific to the second one, are there challenges in there that were perhaps, I don't know, just kind of took you by surprise a little bit that you didn't get in the first one?
Well, they're all done together, so
Yeah,
that means we shot them side by side. So you're doing scenes for both films
yeah,
on similar sets. So the journey is like doing one giant film, which is exhausting, um, especially on this level when you're doing so much practically, and you're driven by winter in England, summer in England, because you can be outside in spring and
yeah,
summer. You have to be inside in winter, so that determines how you build things because you've got to deal with the practicalities of filmmaking. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, there were lots of things that surprised me. Actually, not while making it, I knew we had to do this design journey, and it was as one because one
yeah,
goes into the other. That means you start with Shears and the Emeralds. You bust out of Shears and Munchkin Land to dip your toes in the Emerald City, but we
yeah,
don't really see much of it. But we haven't told the story of Oz, which is like, what is Oz? Why are we going west? All the tragedies of these five kids that become the symbols of Oz. You know, we have to tell that story all the way to Kiamako and the impassable desert through Winky Country and the great forests. So it starts building, and you got to. Then, of course, you've got the famous flying house that comes in, as I also comes
yeah,
from the east, and lands on the Wicked Witch of the East. So now you need to show that story and the fact that Dorothy is just an agent of the wizard, so becomes an agent of the wizard,
yeah,
and all the characters around that. So it's the second film. What amazing about the second film, because you're designing everything, but you realize the story is epic, especially in the second film, because you have the tragedies and the fact that Elphaba has to become the villain. Oz needs a
yeah,
villain, and she has to give up uh, the want to be the hero, and she has to become the villain because that's what they need, that's what they want, and then Glinda has to finish the job she started, and she has to give up all this privilege. So, I mean, it's just colossal stories. It's not us being at Shiz, at high school anymore. It is there are huge stories in the second film. Have you seen it yet?
No,
Well,
no.
I'm just giving it all away.
You've just spoilt the entire film for me now. I don't need to see it now. That's how these interviews go, right?
Yeah, but
Um,
the job of a designer is to take. I've got
I get
to I've got to tell you like what the impassable desert is in film one because it plays a huge part at the end of film two. And you have to accept there's an impassable desert around Oz,
yeah,
not going, where did that come from? And so I have to show you it. And the way I show it to you is I show it to you in The Wizard of Eye when she's on the cliff, and the white cliffs, and they're going out to the impassable desert beyond. So we've planted that seed in your head. So when you see it again, you're not surprised.
yeah.
And so I find that's the real art of design is like going
Well,
unnoticed.
that's storytelling as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, but also
Art.
because we don't want you to bounce off like what's that white desert outside
Yeah.
Kiamiko? So
There's a thing that Christopher Nolan's just done a Radio 4 series with Christopher Frayling, and it's really
I
interesting.
thought we weren't going to talk about him.
We weren't. I'm going to talk about the specifics of one thing. Oh God, I'm bringing Ridley Scott back up for you now. This is going to be terrible. This is going to bring back 9 seconds of trauma. But there was a point he made about the set of Alien and about the difference between building a very big set and seeing the edges of it and building something and making it feel like a world.
Yeah,
And I mean, my takeaway from the first one, I just felt like I was in a world.
yeah.
That I didn't have to see every single corner of it, but I had no doubt that the whole thing existed. I'm curious, like, because I mean, you've talked about 50-foot sets for.
I told him that, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'll give you that. Yeah, all these things you learnt on that monkey film have really come home for you, I think.
Well, the thing you have to remember is the audience has an imagination, and if you sit
Yes,
and they can fill in the blanks and they can expand the world. So the trick is you don't light everything. You must focus. You know what I mean? It's two things. You let the edges go because you'll fill them in because
but when did you learn that? When did
when I was
you tweak
about
that?
11 watching Star Wars.
So you could see that early.
No, because I was like, why for this film do am I being dragged in to this film? I mean, I didn't know what I was seeing, but I literally lost myself for
But
2 hours.
as an 11-year-old, your head was tuned to the point you were questioning and asking yourself that question.
No,
Why?
it was a feeling of like, I think it was on reflection, it was like,
Yeah, yeah,
why, why do we love that film?
yeah,
Apart from it's got an incredible story. But why do we love it? And it's because they've shown us it's world building. I never don't believe where I am.
yeah,
And so how do you achieve that? It's through, as Chris said, and well, I know because we worked together for so many years, you let the edges drop off, but it's also transitions. Like it's like when you get the Ozian train to the Emerald City, you get on a train, trains
yeah,
are romantic, and you get distracted because it's like, oh, I want to get on that train. And you're going to Emerald City. So there's a journey and there's symbolism in that landscape. There's Americana. There's the wheat field. We grew the wheat field around the train. The train
yeah,
runs,
yeah,
and it's Americana because it's the Midwest. It's as far as you can see, it's flat. So we're just giving you the journey. And so I find those transitions are really important in filmmaking because we can be silent. We don't need to say much. It's not like TV where people are distracted constantly. So it's like there's
Interesting.
an art to it. If you look at, I mean, David Lean's a master at it. Big wide, throws it away quickly and goes into your face. But you know immediately that we're in the freaking desert.
Yeah.
We don't.
You described after the first film came out that you described it as one of the greatest experiences of all time that you'd
Yeah,
had
yeah.
working on this. And I don't think you're the kind of person who throws interview sound bites around from based on the 45 minutes that we've just had. So I'm going to take that at face value. It's one of the greatest experiences of all time to me. Can you capture why, though? I mean,
Yeah.
we've touched on some of your classics already in this
There's
interview.
two
What
films above
elevates it
that.
above that? Yeah.
Interstellar, Wicked. Um,
Those two.
those two, because uh, first, first and foremost, they are incredible design challenges. They hurt your head because Wizard of Oz,
Yeah.
interstellar travel. We in Wicked we
Well,
have
the black hole in Interstellar looked like the maths problem to end all of them. That just looked
yeah,
like scary.
yeah, exactly. Fifth dimensional beings in the fourth dimensional shape. Uh, so
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I think so if you have that, it's complicated, and to do it correctly is even more complicated. So it hurts your head trying to come up like you Interstellar, you look at the spaceships, the Ranger, the Endurance, you accept those, right?
Yes.
And why do
I
you
didn't
accept?
even think about it. Just click straight
And
in.
why do you accept the Ranger? It's got two tusks, is as flat as a pancake. Why do you accept that as a spaceship? And I don't know.
Because it fit the world that was on the screen. I believed it.
But it's also we have to touch on your
Yeah.
nostalgia. I guess that's what I was talking about with Star Wars.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yeah, and so it's in shuttle colors. So it's got heat shields and white and shuttle windows. So
But all
you think of that as a spaceship. You have nostalgia for it.
but also I know 15-year-olds of whom Interstellar is one of their favorite films who don't come armed to that with nostalgia.
Well, they might have
That's
been to the
interesting.
Endeavour Museum.
Yeah.
I mean, NASA. I mean, if you can connect nostalgia with NASA, and the other, obviously, Chris always had camera mounted shit. The
Yeah,
language
yeah.
camera work is NASA because you can't send a camera out in orbit and hopefully it shoots you, let alone retrieve the film. So so
Don't tell him that. He'd probably try it. Yeah. Isn't Tom Cruise doing the thing of going into space? I mean, he'll be the one to try that.
yeah.
Yeah. So how does Wicked and Wicked for Good sit alongside that? Why so special?
Because when I opened the door to Wicked and understood how huge this story was, and we had to make it a sort of a traveling companion to the Wizard of Oz, that's a
Yeah.
task. And we have to redesign the Emerald City. We have to redesign everything and still leave the audience believing you're in Oz. And there's a lot of people have tried, and it's a huge task. So they sit because it's a big design task, and just like Interstellar, I have all these pieces around me. So if you're a creative thinker, if you can think in 3D, you have all these pieces that you think, well, I like that and I like that and this and that, and they're all floating up here, and I'm looking around them, and it's like, how do you get them all to connect? Because that's like proper design. It's like, how can we get everything to connect together as one? And the same with Wicked and the Wizard of Oz. Like, I need all those journeys going west, the Impassable Desert, Kamiko being, related to the castles in the sky. It floats. The top half
Yeah.
of it floats. It belongs to the land, to the magic of Oz, to the Grimmery. There's all these underlying theories, just like there is in Interstellar, is about, if you want a slingshot round a black hole, you actually, Kip Thorne always said you need two black holes, but whatever. And so you have, how much time do you leave on the water planet? You're losing 29 years or whatever it was. It's probably 13 years.
Yeah.
There are all these stories that affect design, like, and so it's very differently, but your foundations have to exist within that story. So you have Chris Nolan, who's the best foundation ever, and then John Chu is also wondrous because he comes from it completely differently. He comes at it through movement, dance, and song.
Yeah.
And just as Chris kind of knocks your socks off with how he connects everything together in a non-linear way, if you've seen the first film, Wicked One,
Yeah.
when one short day comes and the dance around that fountain, I am truly astonished he figured that out and did that. and then it ends with the wizard will see you now, and it's just like it's true fantasy. It's like this is at the Emerald City, and story wise, is of course I want to be here, and so they're both very different, but both incredibly talented people, and I think as a designer, like I always say, I got lucky again. So.
Well, yeah. Look, what is luck is timing and talent hitting at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah, no, John, I've just finished
Yeah.
Wonka, and I
Yeah.
mistimed with Oppenheimer because of the COVID stuff, and then John called, and so it was like you're in those down moments again. You get down moments even when you're at the top. It's
Yeah.
like shit. Maybe that was, did I do the right thing? And then John gets on the phone and said, "Oh, I want you to think about Wicked," and I just liked him, and it's like, and then once again, like I was in my 20s, I naively went, "Yeah, of course, that sounds great," And then
Yeah.
you pull open the closet, and this sort of Wicked world and Oswald falls on you, and
I mean, it's not bad from a guy from Islington, is it?
yeah,
To
come on,
have
Upper Street, yeah, exactly.
made it all that way. Our time is pretty much at an end, so I'm kind of curious now that I've dragged you through your Ridley Scott traumas and taking you back to your television days. I mean, it's the logical question, really. It's just like what is triggering your imagination next? Because presumably people are sending you stuff. Is there something that you're beavering away in a garage on somewhere?
No, I mean, I think the problem is now I need, I need bigger challenges, which are much fewer these
I
days.
did wonder that. Once you're building 50-foot sets and doing two massive films back to back, Monkey Trouble ain't going to cut it, is it?
No, I don't want to do police stations and hospitals. I can't get
Yeah,
excited. I'm very useless if I'm not excited. Because I turn into a snail and I'm no help to anyone. But I can really help you if you're going to do fantasies. But these things haven't sort of materialized. I've been thinking. I do lots of R&D to help people figure out how to do things practically. So I do,
yeah.
which is great fun. But I've been realizing about three-dimensional. I've been thinking about three-dimensional thinking, and if you can see in 3 dimensions, and if you can change and create in your head in 3D, and then turn around and look at it. Can you see in 3 dimensions? So I've been interesting that doesn't use memory, that use new object creation. And can you look at something, manipulate it, turn around to a different perspective of it? And I've been wondering about that because I have a very sort of clear vision of that. And when I draw, it becomes in scribbles. And I realized because the minute I picked up the pencil, my head has moved somewhere else. And I realized that this is too slow. And I'm
Interesting.
fascinating about creative thinking because I always thought everyone thought like that. And I don't think they do. And
I'm inclined to agree. I don't think many people think and work the way you do, Nathan Crowley. I
yeah.
think like the guy who basically ended up on the set of Hook almost accidentally, thanks to someone suggesting something here or there. It's just like, it's not been a bad run, has it?
I mean, I feel very, I mean, as Roger Corman, I feel the same as him. He says, I feel really lucky.
Yeah.
And I really do. So,
Well, you're certainly doing better than Michael Winner's assistant on Death Wish 3.
that's
But
yellow. That magazine's so old.
isn't it great though? I love old magazines. You find so much stuff in
I
there.
can see you don't ever throw anything away, do you, Simon?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. That's why I wanted to know about shitty garages. I hope our paths cross again. I suspect when they do, your award nomination count will have gone past 100. Nathan Crowley, thank you so much for your time. Thank
Yeah,
you.
take care, Simon.
And that was my conversation with Nathan Crowley. And heck, I'd really like to talk to him again fairly soon. I got through about a third of the questions that I'd had for him. Wicked for Good is now playing in cinemas around the world. You might have heard of it. If not, look on the side of a bus. There'll be a picture of it there. And it all brings to an end this latest episode of Film Stories. And thank you for listening and thank you for your time. I'm on social networks, if you're not bored of me already. Simon Brew on Blue Sky, simon.brew on Instagram. For Film Stories, it's Film Stories Magazine UK on Instagram, Film Stories on YouTube, Film Stories Online at Facebook, Film Stories at Blue Sky. God, I always struggle to remember these. Online store, store.filmstories.co.uk, which is where you can find our print magazines. Print magazines, madness, who makes those? Assorted unofficial movie merchandise, our UK exclusive Blu-rays of Bull Durham and No Way Out. That's store.filmstories.co.uk. It's patreon.com/Simon Brew to support the podcast or subscribe to it, leave a really nice review, stuff like that really helps. And our clickbait and AI-free entertainment website, www.filmstories.co.uk. For now, I'm off to watch more films and work on the next episode of this. Until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. The main thing is, as always, that you're all safe and well. Take care, folks, and thank you. Bye-bye.